So we're good. Okay. Good morning. I would like to call to order this special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for Fremont County. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
Bryant. Present. And Planning and Zoning Director Garrett is absent.
All right, we have a short but important agenda to deal with this morning. I believe we have no changes.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve today's agenda. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We have no old business for consideration. Our only item of new business this morning is consideration of a variance request from the Safer at Home Executive Order and Public Health Order 20-28. This is resolution number 28 for Fremont County. And we have with us this morning Emma Davis. She is the Director of Public Health. So I'm going to ask Emma if she will please come up to the podium and give us an explanation of what is happening this morning.
Oh, had to allow her in.
Oh, look, we have Dr. Tori King with us this morning as well. Good morning,
Emma,
Dr.
turn your
King.
mic on. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone,
Good morning.
and good morning. I hope you all can hear me okay. Thanks for joining us, Dr. King. So yes, we would like to submit a variance to the public health order, the Safer at Home order, and do the variance for Fremont County. This process, what we did through public health is we created a variance advisory committee. On that committee, it had a public health epidemiologist, Dr. King, who is our Fremont County medical officer, Dr. McCurry, who is a medical director for a long-term care facility, Chief Delvecchio, Fire Chief Delvecchio for first responders, and then the CNO, Beth Reisner from St. Thomas More Hospital. We created this advisory committee because those are going to be the areas that are going to recognize and notice if our numbers start to increase and our resources start to become overwhelmed. So that committee was in place so that we could have a voice from all of those sectors and have a place to meet, and what they believe to be a good first step for Fremont County to reopen. So I'll go into some of the variance requests that we are requesting of the Board of County Commissioners. And then Dr. King, if I misspeak or if they have questions, let me know. So the first attachment is for restaurants. Do you want me to go through the entire?
Yes, if you
Sure.
would please.
Sure.
Just kind of, people I think are going to be really
Yeah.
interested to know.
Okay.
And they will be looking for the publication of documents. They're going to want to see for themselves. And so if you can go ahead and go through these, obviously we will get them up on the website as quickly as we can if this is approved this morning. But I think it'd be a great idea for you to go ahead and go through it.
Okay. There's 5 attachments, so bear with me. So this is attachment A. This is for restaurants. Restaurants are encouraged to continue to do business through takeout, delivery, and curbside pickup. If restaurants so choose, they can provide limited dine-in service. Restaurants must take the necessary time to ensure each of the following is adequately addressed before opening to the public. Limit number of customers to 30% of normal seating capacity. Do not allow customers to wait in the lobby areas or have lines outside the door. Implement a reservation system. Notify customers via text or call when their table is ready. Provide hand washing stations or sanitizer for all customers. Post signs at entrances regarding face coverings and post signs throughout the facility as needed to remind customers of social distancing and proper hygiene. Require customers to wear a cloth mask or face covering in order to enter the business and keep them in place until they are seated at their table. Ask customers if they're experiencing any symptoms prior to seating them in the dining area and do not allow them to enter the area. make reasonable accommodations for vulnerable populations who are still under the stay-at-home advisement, so have seating assistance, special hours. Group parties shall be limited to 6 members of a single household. Bars are to remain closed, including those that are part of a restaurant. Implement one-way entry, exit, and directional walkways as much as possible. In-room dining shall follow strict physical distance practices, which is 6 feet. Tables shall be spaced at a distance that allows for customers to remain at a 6-foot distance. Self-service stations shall remain closed. This includes the drinking stations, bulk drying areas. Do not allow public sharing of utensils or condiment containers. Buffet shall have an employee serving the food. No self-service is allowed. Perform environmental cleaning and disinfection of bathrooms and high-touch surfaces every 2 hours and maintain a cleaning log. Staff handling dirty dishes must wear gloves and an apron. Staff must wash and/or sanitize their hands between each customer. Monitor employees for one of the following symptoms: cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or 2 or more of the following symptoms: fever, chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, new loss of taste or smell. Symptomatic employees must be excluded from the workplace. Employees and contracted workers shall be required to wear non-medical cloth face coverings over the nose and mouth. Individuals who cannot wear a mask shall not be permitted to work at this time. Implement or maintain physical barriers for high contact settings, such as cashiers. Implement touchless payment methods where possible. Stagger shifts if feasible to decrease employee numbers at the business.
So real quickly, can I ask you to just talk briefly about how you came up with the separate list for all of the 5 attachments that we have?
So Dr. King, do you want to discuss that, answer that question?
I'm kind of having a hard time hearing that person. Can you repeat the question for me?
How we came up with the criteria for each of the 5 attachments.
How many people in the committee?
No. How did you come up with the criteria in each of these attachments? Thank you.
We came up with the criteria based upon other counties' criteria and based upon our own thoughts. We did reject some of the criteria. For example, there was some discussion about limiting all of these to just Fremont County residents being able to use whatever recreational thing or restaurant. And we decided that was A, not enforceable, and B, it would set up the same scenario we have right now, which is why is Walmart open, but my store can't be open. So we decided that we would not limit it to just Fremont County residents. So there was actually quite a few suggestions brought up that were rejected, somewhat because they were totally unenforceable. But we based it upon other people's documentation as well as common sense and the present stay-at-home, safe-at-home type of orders with social distancing.
And I believe that several of these you worked directly with the businesses to come up with these protocols. Is that correct? So they've had input into this process.
Actually, many of the businesses gave us written input as to what they wanted and why they wanted what they wanted. We got input from rafting companies and we had input from a Jeep company. So yes, we had direct input from the businesses saying what they would desire and what they could or could not do.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Also, I would just like to clarify up front for everyone, these things cannot take place until approved by the state. So this will not be immediate, but until approved by the state. Also, Emma, since we're currently discussing restaurants, would you like to address outside food trucks now being allowed to come inside?
Since going through this variance process, if we're going to allow for outside people to come to Fremont County to recreate, then we should allow the outside food vendors and food trucks to come to Fremont County to operate as well. So Amy, the environmental health officer, and I discussed this, and we would like for the Board of Health to go ahead and approve for those vendors to be able to operate in Fremont County if this variance is approved.
Okay, thank you. I think we're ready to move to places of worship. So I would suggest just maybe going through and discussing what's different in each of these, like
Okay.
the list of symptoms. You don't need to completely reread for each one.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
some of
you.
these are very similar. So again, for places of worship, we're encouraging you to continue to offer online or drive-up services as much as possible. For activities within a facility, places of worship shall be allowed to increase the number of participants if they choose, as outlined with the following guidelines. And similar with everything else, this is at 30% capacity of what they could normally fit into their building, and have individuals or groups of people to a single household with a 6-foot distancing. Again, no waiting in the lobby lines, no mingling time before, during, or after the service. Masks shall be required by all guests where possible. The same signage is as similar for restaurants, making accommodations for the vulnerable population. Most of these are very similar to the restaurants. Place floor markings on the floor to maintain the 6-foot distance where lines may form, keeping people with the social distancing. Implement touchless offering and communion options as much as possible, meaning don't pass around an offering plate, make available individual offerings, have prepackaged food that can be grab and go instead of having the meals at the location, making sure that they're cleaning the restrooms and high-touch surface areas every 2 hours, no self-service refreshments, have the hand washing and sanitizer monitor for symptoms, and employees must wear a non-medical grade mask, cloth mask, or face covering. Okay. Attachment C is for fitness facilities, and gyms, health clubs, and other similar fitness facilities shall be able to open their facilities for limited use. Fitness facilities that choose to open under limited use must do so under the following guidelines. Again, the 30% of the fire building capacity, not allowing members to wait in the lobby. They need to wear a mask where possible. Obviously, if you're running on a treadmill, don't wear a mask. But we need to make sure that equipment is spread out to 6 feet so other people aren't coming in contact with each other. Make reasonable accommodations for the vulnerable population. If any members are experiencing illness, they have to be excluded from participating. Spread people out so that there's at least 10-foot social distance between individuals throughout the facility. Sharing of equipment is prohibited, and an employee must be required to disinfect equipment after every use. That's going to be really important to make sure that's utilized. Again, making sure you're doing the cleaning, monitor for symptoms. Employees have to wear a non-medical cloth mask or covering. And personal training is allowed while strictly adhering to social distancing guidelines and limited to 4 people plus the instructor. Group classes are not allowed. Sports courts have to remain closed. Locker rooms must remain closed. Saunas and pools, indoor and outdoor and shared spaces must remain closed. And on-site child care facilities must remain closed.
All right, take a breath.
I know, it's a lot.
It is a lot. I apologize for having you read all of this. I
No.
just think it's important.
Yeah,
Thank
I agree.
you.
No problem. Okay, attachment D, this is for recreation. So local recreation facilities can be open to the public under the following guidelines. Fremont County or any municipality can enact stricter orders as they see fit. So if we say that you can do this and the city of Canyon City says, no, we're going to leave it closed, and they absolutely can do that. Group gatherings must be kept to 10 people or less. Park facilities conducive to gatherings such as shelters, picnic areas, or playgrounds are to remain closed. Swim beaches, swimming pools, splash pads are to remain closed. League or pickup sports are prohibited at this time. Spaces that enable social distancing, such as trails, green space, tennis courts, golf courses may be open for use. Golfers must maintain physical distance of 6 feet at all times. Motorized golf carts shall contain no more than 1 person, although members of the same household may ride together in the same cart. Golfers shall avoid sharing clubs and golf balls. Golf carts rented or borrowed equipment must be cleaned between uses. Physical distancing should be maintained in outdoor settings, so 6 feet while hiking, 15 feet while running or biking. Outdoor recreation facilities may remain open when adequate controls are able to be implemented to ensure the 6-foot social distancing. They need to monitor employees and volunteers for the symptoms that I listed earlier. They must wear a non-medical cloth face covering while they're working and do the cleaning for high-touch surfaces and keep a cleaning log. And then this is a new piece of it that's different than other places. Privately owned campgrounds and RV parks may be open for use if they can strictly adhere to the social distancing guidelines and maintain 6-foot distance. They can operate at a 50% capacity, leaving every other campsite open to allow for proper distancing. Groups must be limited to members of the same household. All shared facilities must remain closed with the exception of bathrooms, which must be cleaned every 2 hours and have a maintained cleaning log. Campgrounds, RV parks shall also follow other recreation guidelines listed above. That's for attachment D.
All right.
Whew.
And I
All
think
right.
we have one more to go.
Yeah, so attachment E is for outfitters. So local outfitters include rafting companies, helicopter tours, railroad services, skydiving, and zip lines, and Jeep tours. And they may operate under this following criteria: that they practice social distancing of 6 feet. Any and all equipment must be cleaned and disinfected between uses. Group reservations should be kept to groups of the same household. No contact check-in and payment should be available as much as possible. Do not allow customers to wait in a lobby or in lines outside of doors. Make digital waivers available if possible to limit contact. Customers shall be required to wear face coverings when possible. We need to add that piece because we talked about rafting and how impossible that would be. So we'll fix that piece. Have signage posted about social distancing and wearing masks. Must keep occupancy of the building at or below 30% of the fire building code as long as social distancing can be followed. Buses for raft trips must be limited to 30% of the passenger capacity. Train cars must be limited to 30% of the passenger capacity, and travel between cars must be prohibited, and passengers must stay in their assigned seats. Jeep tours, skydiving, zip line guides in groups must be limited to only members of the same household. Rafting trips shall allow for trips of 4 or fewer individuals of a mixed group or single household, not including the raft guide. All equipment such as helmets, life jackets, and safety harnesses, as well as any other shared equipment, must be cleaned in a sanitizing solution after each use and allowed to air dry before reuse. Seats, handrails, and other frequently touched surfaces must be cleaned between groups. Include additional check-in times to reduce the number of guests arriving at one time. Do the environmental cleaning of restrooms and high-touch surfaces every 2 hours while maintaining a log. Monitor employees for symptoms at the beginning of the shift, and employees shall wear a non-medical cloth face covering while they are at work.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Emma. First, I would like to ask my fellow commissioners if you have any questions about the specifics that she just read, and then we can talk a little bit about the purpose of today and why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you, Emma, for all your work on this. This has been fantastic. For me, I've gotten most of my either emails, text, or private messages has been on outfitters and recreation. I think people view me as like a recreation guy or something. And this is, this needs to be, the whole variance advisory committee that reviewed this and okayed this, and the businesses that submitted their protocols, this collaboration that came together, and people need to know it's not the three of us that came up with this. The businesses actually brought forth their protocols. This variance committee actually reviewed it and brought it towards us, which got us here today. And we really need to open up this for our businesses here in Fremont County. And I commend you for your work on this. Thank you very much.
My turn. I kind of want to echo that, I guess. Thank you, Dr. King and the committee for everything that you guys have done on this, and Emma, your team as well. Really appreciate that you guys had the desire to listen to the folks that are being affected by this, whether it's the businesses or the groups involved, because that includes all of our community. So it's a good thing, and I, like Tim, have been getting many emails and texts and calls and everything from folks from all parts of the county, not just recreation, but other businesses and everything else. And it is important that we get our businesses back open. And I feel that people are going to take care of themselves and they're going to respect others. So our numbers are low right now, that we haven't had any new cases in, I believe, 10 days. So we're doing great. Let's keep it that way. I think people are, smart enough to figure out where they need to be. If they don't need to be somewhere, they'll stay home. So it's a great thing that we're have this proposal to send to the state, and hopefully they'll approve it soon, quickly, and then we can get back to some more businesses getting open and getting open in larger matters. So appreciate all the work that you guys have done. Thank you.
So timeline-wise, do you have any idea how long it may be before the state has an opportunity to look at this and hopefully approve it?
So per the state, it's about 3 days turnaround time for them to review and approve or send back their recommendations. So we're looking at 3 days, 3 business days. So I'm hoping, if this is approved, to get it submitted this morning right after this. I also want to mention that the Variance Committee has requested that this public health order be in place for 6 weeks. That is the request of the group. So hopefully by Friday we get something, maybe Monday, but as soon as possible, but 3 days.
So once that does happen, then, to be very clear, does every one of these businesses who are now hoping to open under these guidelines, do they need to contact the Department of Public Health and fill out the new protocols to explain how they're going to meet all of these? I just want to make sure they all know what will be expected of them.
So if they haven't already submitted the business protocol, then they need to do that. And like Dr. King mentioned, a lot of this came from those business protocols that they submitted of how they're going to keep people safe. So if they haven't done it already, yes, please submit it. The link is on our Fremont County website. So please go on there, submit it how you're going to follow these guidelines. I know a lot of restaurants haven't because they were waiting to see a date when they could do this. So go ahead and get those in. Our code enforcement, Fremont County Code Enforcement, is amazing. They have reviewed 298 protocols. So that's a lot. So we appreciate everyone sending that in. So yes, please fill those out and get those to us.
All right. Thank you for that. I would simply like to echo my fellow commissioners and thank you all, you, the Variance Committee, Dr. King, all of the folks throughout our own community who have helped organize these and to put all of these protocols together. So it's taken a tremendous amount of work to get where we are today. But I also want to say I'm really excited about this. I'm very happy that we're taking a positive step forward. We would not be doing this if we didn't think that Fremont County was ready to take the next step. And we all believe that business owners, residents, citizens, and people who come here will do what they're supposed to do. They need to follow the protocols because the last thing that any of us want to do is take a step back. We don't ever want to see that happening. So I would like to assure both citizens and business owners of Fremont County that we feel your pain. We know this has not been an easy thing for all of us because we're living through it as well. Our families are living through it as well. And it hasn't been an easy thing. In fact, it's been quite a nightmare, but I'm hoping that we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we have before us then
Madam Chair, I have a question if you
Oh, yes,
if you don't
certainly.
mind. Emma, a quick question. You're doing tests now on Monday and Wednesday for symptomatic folks. When those people get tested, because it's been asked many times, how long do those tests take to come back with results?
So if they get tested through the health department, it's 24 to 36 hours. So we usually have the results the next day. If they go somewhere else, depending on what lab they use, it could take longer. But at the health department, it's about 24 hours that we get those results. And we have changed how we are doing, not how we're doing the testing. It was tier 1 and tier 2. Now anyone that is symptomatic, we can test. So the state is allowing us To do testing for any symptomatic person, you just have to make an appointment with us, so we can get you scheduled. And we weren't allowed to do the other, everybody, because the state wouldn't run the lab. So we would be wasting a test. So now that we can test all 3 tiers, anyone that is experiencing symptoms, we can absolutely test.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have before us this morning resolution number 28. Officially is a resolution of the Fremont County Board of County Commissioners approving the May 6th, 2020 Fremont County Public Health Order for Safer at Home and adopting the same in place of Colorado Public Health Order 20-28 Safer at Home and Executive Order D 2020-044 Safer at Home, and authorizing submittal of a request for a variance to the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. So once this is approved, these documents will be headed up to the state, and hopefully we're going to get some good news back in 3 days. So we'll have to hang tight and see, but I think things are going to go well. So commissioners, anything further before I call for a motion?
No, Madam Chair, with that, I move that we approve resolution number 28.
Second.
Were you expecting more?
I was.
I just read it all, so I don't think he really felt like he needed to. It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 28, sending this request off to the state. So is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Emma, thank you again. Dr. King, thank you. Please, once again, forward our appreciation and thanks to everyone who helped work on this today. That is our only item of business for consideration today, so we are adjourned.